pin our hopes to the ground, but we can work it out. 'Cause giving in is oh so hard when love is at stake. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now if we only knew how, learning to love, learning to laugh and fear, learning to fight through these years that bring us closer together. Learning to love, learning the first golden rule, knowing that anything is possible. 'Cause nothing's gonna keep us from, nothing's gonna keep us from learning the ropes.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Oh, hey, Macho Man. What's up, buddy? Oh, baby. For life. I'm sorry. There's just something spectacular about that music. All right, Macho, go away. Have a Slim Jim. Greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm XLJ, the OG, joined by my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, Mr.Broll.
Man, I feel I'm about to fix something real quick, real quick,
Well,
because
there we have it.
I'm always on this side. I
Yeah.
don't know what was up with that, man.
Well, I got a survey for you, brother, okay? I want to ask you, are you here tonight to talk about the WWF or the WCW? Or would you rather talk about the NWO? That's right, because survey says one more for the good guys. Boy, oh boy, this is going to be a fun episode tonight. We got a lot of ground to cover, B-roll, because we're talking about arguably one of the biggest factions of all time in the New World Order.
Yes, and in numbers as well.
No kidding, dude. Who wasn't in the NWO in the 90s?
I was like, I freaking know. He's going to give me a quiz tonight of like, were they an NWO member or not?
I thought about doing that, and truth be told, like I had kind of formatted it, but there was just so much to talk about. I was like, no, I'm probably going to have to skip it. But
and in typical NWO fashion, though, we do have a third member.
But where's the third man? Is the third man here? Or the third member, I should say? Are they here?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. Oh, you're pulling a Bash at the Beach 96. I see how it is. Well,
that's right.
Like you say, we'll just have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. But
just an FYI, A&E's Most Wanted WWE Treasures is, live tonight. So thank you, WWE. I just got that text.
Yeah, we're going up against a lot tonight too, because we got that, as well as there's the New Japan Resurgence show is going on right now as well. So, but we thank you all for joining us here tonight over on Cole TV, because this is going to be a really fun episode, like we said, because we are talking the NWO. But as always, B-roll, when we start learning the ropes, we got to start it right, and there's only one way to do that. A little plug-a-palooza.
That is right, in GDO, and boy, oh boy, do we have a week coming to you over at Cole TV.
Right. But we could talk about it, but why don't we just show you this instead?
It's the Cole TV Memorial Day Weekend Extravaganza! With all new episodes of your favorite Cole TV shows. In addition, you'll also see specials such as the Night of Champions Prediction Show, a brand new episode of Friday Night Movie Night, a special Saturday night edition of Learning the Ropes, and the AEW Double or Nothing Prediction Show. It concludes with a very special Pro Wrestling 60 live episode on Memorial Day itself. So celebrate Memorial Day weekend in style on Cole TV.
There you have it. It is our big Memorial Day extravaganza coming up on Cole TV all this week. So what is up, Irish Rebels? How you doing, brother? And hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
But yeah, there you go. Represent. But yeah, this week is going to be a fun one for us over on Cole TV. Of course, tomorrow night, brand new episode of PW60, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it all gets underway this upcoming Thursday with our Night of Champions prediction show. Friday, we got a brand new episode and what may be the best Friday night movie night yet. It's a pretty funny one. It's pretty comical. You're gonna want to see it, and hopefully we can get some sponsorships out of it. Because if you watch the episode, you'll know what we are talking
I think
about.
we will. I think
I
we
hope
will.
so. I sure hope so. And then on Saturday, we will have a special episode of Learning the Ropes. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And then Sunday, you can catch our Double or Nothing prediction show. And Monday, we will have a very special Pro Wrestling 60 episode live on Memorial Day night. It's all coming to you over on Cole TV. We got so much
Oh,
going
what
on.
a glorious Memorial Day night.
That's right. That's right. And there's so much going to be to cover
Yeah,
in the
so
world
much
of
wrestling.
wrestling. Because there's
So
literally
much
4
freaking
different
wrestling.
shows this upcoming weekend. It's going to be nuts, man. And it's like the best time in the world to be a professional
It was
wrestling
the best
fan.
of times. It was the worst of times. Except it wasn't the worst of times because it was the best of times.
It has to be your bull. What? Anyways, I mentioned before learning the ropes. So we're going to be, because obviously so much going on next weekend, we're going to be on Saturday night instead. But I do got an announcement here for learning the ropes. Folks, tonight is going to be the last time that you see learning the ropes on Sunday nights. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere. Oh no, we're just moving to a different night after this. So next Saturday you can catch Learning the Ropes, and it's going to be, we're going to conclude our faction month, and we're going to be talking about the Bullet Club. That's next Saturday,
For life.
which is kind of a you can kind of see why we did those back-to-back episodes, because I mean Bullet Club is kind of a, you know, a well, I don't want to say copycat, but a clone. Well, it is what it is. Now, after that, our brand new night, you will be able to catch us every Thursday night. That's right. So going forward, Thursday nights is where you will catch brand new episodes of Learning the Ropes. Time to be decided, I think, B-roll. Probably 7 p.m. Eastern, but we'll get that figured out. We'll get that information to you soon enough. But that's all.
I mean, I'd imagine either 7 or 8 probably.
Yeah. Well,
So I mean, if we continue the 2-hour block format, I mean, they'll.
Yeah.
If you show up at one of those times, you'll find us.
You're gonna see these 2 beautiful facades every Thursday night. That's right. But that's what we got cooking all on Cole TV. But you know what? B-roll and I, we've got some more fires cooking as well. Well, we got to talk about, well, I don't think we've talked about yet here on Learning the Ropes, but you can catch us over on World Championship Wreckage's YouTube channel, as we both have brand new shows over there. I have a show called Back in the Day, where we take a look back in the history of World Championship Wrestling, as well as B-roll has got his show, Pro Wrestling Newbie Reacts, where you are going to be watching some WCW matches that you've never seen before. And there's a lot for you to see too, because I don't think you've seen a whole lot of WCW throughout.
I mean matches and debuts and much more. Like stuff, tons of stuff I haven't seen.
Guilty. It's me. Hi. I can't remember his name or how that song goes, but yeah. Yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Oh, I'm the problem. Well,
At
yeah,
tea time, everybody agrees.
Oh, Lord have mercy. And hey, also, we've got some pretty sweet merch too. And you know where you can get that sweet merch at, B-roll?
WWEshop.com?
No. More like sweetdollfacecreations.bigcartel.com, which is way cooler than WWE Shop.
I mean, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that.
And that's where you can catch some awesome Learning the Ropes shirts. We've got Chubby shirts over there, hats. We've got Cole TV merch, and all your other favorite Wrestle Talk content creators over there as well. So check out Sweet Dog Face Creations.
Speaking of drip, though, the Wrestle Talk drip god himself is in the chat.
Oh yeah, how you doing, Wrestle Talk drip god? A little drip on this Sunday night. So, B-roll, we got a lot to talk about, because we're talking about arguably one of the most infamous factions in all professional wrestling.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we even get too far into this, Can I just already go ahead and say who my favorite NWO member is?
If you say Hollywood Hulk Hogan, I will ban you for the night. It's K-Dog, right? It's Conan.
No.
Your favorite NWO member?
Yeah. Do you want?
Is it
Here.
Scott Hall? I mean, you got a shirt on.
Listen. Let me say this. Play a little guess the wrestler. Okay.
Okay.
Or guess the person.
Guess the NWO member.
They're a former world champion.
Are you gonna say Kevin Nash?
Will you shut up? No, it's not Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Ask me questions to try to figure out who it is.
I think I know who it is. Oh yeah.
No, they are not sponsored by Slim Jims.
Former world champion?
Yes.
Scott Steiner?
No. They are a former multi-time world champion.
Did they win the title before or after the NWO?
Let me clarify that.
You don't know. Well, gosh. So it's not Hogan, it's not Nash, it's not Hall. Well, Hall never won the world title. You're not gonna say the Giant, are you?
No.
Okay. It's not Scott Steiner. A former world champion? I'm sure shit's not Jeff Jarrett.
To be more direct, they are a 4-time world champion.
In WCW or the WWE or both?
Neither.
The fuck? Neither?
Neither. They did not hold the world title in WCW or WWF.
Well, it's not an ECW wrestler. Oh, are you guys? No, Dusty didn't hold it 4 times. Huh? I don't know. You got me puzzled on this one myself.
You're gonna be so mad.
No, hold on a second. Obviously, we're stalling so we can get the third man here, but okay, it wasn't. What the fuck would it have been in? It wouldn't have been ECW. A 4-time world champion.
Think
Are you
bigger.
IWGP?
Think bigger.
Big.
Like you can be a world champion and not just wrestling.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? Wait a minute, though. Hold on a second, B-roll. No, he 5-time. You're talking Dennis Rodman.
I Googled it. It said he was a 4-time.
5 times. He because keep in mind, he won it with the Pistons twice and the
I can't
Bulls 3
count.
times.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not Steiner math.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, you didn't have it.
Yeah, but you weren't right on the championship. So therefore, the question is null and void.
It's void. But yeah, my favorite member is Dennis Rodman.
All right.
5-time world champion.
Okay. Well, there you have it. We're going to talk about his reign and so much more. But B-roll, like anything, we got to talk about the origins of how this faction came to be. And it's very fascinating how the New World Order came to be. Now, like if you're like a traditionalist, you'll say, "Oh, well, it was a copycat idea." Well, isn't everything in wrestling pretty much a somewhat of a parody of something else at some point in time? So, just saying. Anyways, the NWO. So the origins of it really starts with you got to look back in New Japan Pro Wrestling, or at least the concept of it. And really, what was cool is back in the day, in around '96, New Japan had a show where they were going up against another promotion called the UWFI. And in the main event of this show, there was a championship match with Shinya Hashimoto representing New Japan going up against Nobuhiki Takado from the UWFI. Well, anyways, long story short, it was kind of presented like, okay, the UWFI was invading New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? So
Mhm.
Eric Bischoff sees this and pretty much is like, you know what, that would make for a great storyline. And pretty much the rest they say is history. But there's so much more that goes into it just than that. I mean, we talked about this a lot last week. That pivotal moment in all of professional wrestling, the curtain call. Because I mean, if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash do not leave the WWF, we're not having this conversation tonight. We're simply not, because it wouldn't have worked. Because you would have pretty much taken like some talent that was already there in WCW and was like going to put them in that role of like, okay, now we decide we just want to take over. It wouldn't have worked, because with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, I mean, they were literally, as they were called,
Outsiders.
the outsiders. So, and the thing is too, what was so brilliant about this is when they brought them in is they didn't say their name. It's not like they brought them in as like saying like, okay, here comes Razor Ramon, or here comes Scott Hall, here comes Diesel, here comes Kevin. It was just like, okay, you just assumed. I mean, they were still doing the mannerisms to a certain extent, but it was just like, holy shit, the WWF is invading WCW. That's the way it like came across, and that's why it worked so damn well.
And
So much
let
so,
me ask you this too, because I'm
yeah,
curious. So, what year was this?
96.
96. So, how old were you? I would have been 6.
10. I was 10 years old.
You're 10.
hmm
So, were you? How did you feel? Did you really feel like, oh, they're invading, or were you smart to the
Yeah.
business by then?
No, not at all. I was a fan, dude. I thought for sure. I thought Razor and Kevin was invading. Dude, I believed it and bought into that storyline so much. So I can remember like, taking my action figures, and having you have your wrestling leagues
Yep.
and stuff, and then like I remember having like my figures kind of like turn on, like pretty much like build storylines where it was like the WWF versus WCW and stuff. Man, I was enthralled and enamored with that storyline, dude.
That's
Like
See,
everybody
yeah.
else.
And that's one of the things that I won't say like regret, but like it makes me wish I would have discovered pro wrestling like so long ago.
Oh my gosh! Now here's the thing you got to keep in mind too, dude. Like if you couldn't do this stuff nowadays with all the internet,
Yeah,
and
that's
dirt
true.
sheets and stuff. You
Yeah.
could not do it. It would not have worked as well, because everybody would have known. Okay, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash's contracts are up, and they're coming to WCW. So just the way they brought them in, man. And I mean, just I'll never forget. And it's interesting here in a couple days. We're about to come up on the. Let me see if I can do my math here.
Roman
Almost
Reigns
20
1,000
some,
days.
yeah, 20 something like years of anniversary of Scott Hall showing up on Monday Nitro. Yeah, I mean, it was just dude. And the thing is, B-roll. It's not like he had music or anything. He literally shows up out of the crowd, jumps the guardrail, and like gets on them. And it's so much so too. If you look back, I think that in mid match, because like here's some trivia for you. What was the match? And honestly, I can just only remember Mike Enos was in the match. But then if memory serves me correctly, the match literally just stops, and like there's Scott Hall, and then he gets on the mic, and you'll never forget those lines. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, it literally is. It could arguably be the greatest moment in WCW history, and it may be one of the greatest moments in wrestling history, because B-roll, this is just so ahead of its time. Like for something like this to happen. So you have Scott Hall tease for weeks, about WCW, like he's getting help. And then, you got a couple weeks later, and lo and behold, Kevin Nash shows up to help the medium-sized man as the big-sized man comes in. And just then it's just like, then it really hits you like, holy shit, like the fucking WWF is invading WCW. What is going on? This is insane. It's like Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or somebody else from the WWF going to show up next week? you didn't know. And the chaos and the way it was booked and the way it was presented with the outsiders and stuff was just like, oh my God, you just didn't know. It was the best television that WCW ever put out. Was the very first formation of when the NWO came in. And just like, it was so realistic, like, oh my gosh, like these guys are here to, like, because you got to keep in mind the war between WCW and WWF had been going on for years, essentially. And now, and it seemed like logical, like, okay, Vince is sending his guys to, go to war with WCW, essentially. Now, I'm saying this from like a fan's perspective, of course, especially 10-year-old me. My mind's just like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why I asked. 'Cause
yeah.
I was curious.
Yeah, so we get to that pivotal moment. We get to the moment where essentially it gets announced that there is going to be a 6-man tag team matchup at the Bash at the Beach. And you got to keep in mind too, I mean, the outsiders, like I say, have been just, running rampant over WCW. They even power bombed Eric Bischoff through a table, which was unheard of back in those days. Taking their stance, if you will. So the team representing WCW was the Macho Man Randy Savage, Sting, and Lex Luger. And they were going up against the Outsiders, who said they had a third man. But we get to the matchup, and there's no third man. It's just a 2-on-3 handicap match, essentially, at first. So it's just like, okay, what the hell is going on here, Well, during the matchup, you have Lex Luger gets taken out, and thus it ends up being a tag match with the Macho Man and Sting going up against the Outsiders. And as the match progresses, it gets down to the wire here, and it's just like there's chaos, everything's going on, and oh my gosh, here comes the Lord and Savior, red and yellow. It's Hulk Hogan's in the building. And it's just like your typical, like, oh, fuck, I've seen this for the past 10 plus years, essentially. Here comes Hulk Hogan to save the day. He gets in there. The outsiders are on the outside of the ring. But what happens, B-roll? Goes to the corner and he drops the leg on the Macho Man. And man, oh man, the entire landscape of professional wrestling changed.
Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW.
Hulk Hogan, you can go straight to hell. That was my favorite call from that. But yeah, Hulk Hogan pretty much drops the leg and Hollywood Hogan is born. Now, first and foremost, I am not a Hulk Hogan fan, never have been, never will, but I can't take away from this is probably like one of the craziest turns I've ever seen in wrestling because I did not see it coming, especially 10-year-old me. Because, you think about it, B-roll, you're talking, regardless if you love or hate Hulk Hogan at this time frame still is the biggest name in professional wrestling.
Yeah. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
Yeah. And to take that cash cow and be like, you know what? We're going to turn you a heel. It's just like, holy shit. Now, here's a little bit of fun information for you. Did you know originally that the third man was actually supposed to be Sting? Yeah. Yeah, Sting was actually talked about to being the third man. And I honestly, like, it would have been crazy, but I just don't think it would have worked as well because you have that kind of established quote unquote relationship with Hulk Hogan coming from the WWF. So it made sense all the more to the story. Like, okay, it's the WWF is like going to war with WCW, So Hulk Hogan drops the leg on Macho Man. It ends up being a no contest at the Bash at the Beach, and you'll never forget the promo at the end of the night with Mean Gene and just garbage getting thrown into the ring, and Hulk Hogan just pretty much going full-blown heel, and the New World Order is born essentially from this moment. And it is definitely this moment, it's one of the biggest moments in the WCW, the Monday Night Wars, and in all professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a catalyst of a moment of like of a trend. And I mean, this essentially is what makes WCW like edgier and to where it starts winning the war essentially on Monday nights. And in addition to that, too, if you don't have the NWO, if you don't have like this happen, I don't know if you necessarily get the Attitude Era, because WWF had their backs pushed up against the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, we said it. I mean, we said it last week. Like DX was like an MVP of the Attitude Era, but like NWO was kind of like the fire starters.
Yeah, the thing is, the NWO, that was the story. That was the show on World Championship Wrestling for a couple years. Now the beginning of it's great, which what we're talking about, but we're going to go through the whole history of the NWO essentially here tonight. So pretty much after Hulk Hogan announces that he's the third man, the NWO it continues running roughshod all throughout WCW, just doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I remember like many times, like on there's Nitros where they jumped wrestlers. I'll never forget the moment when Kevin Nash took a young Rey Mysterio Jr. and literally threw him like a lawn dart into a trailer head first. It's fucking crazy, man. It got, be real, the thing is, it got so believable and so intense that they were showing footage of the NWO attacking WCW wrestlers, and there was fans who was in the watching at home who lived in that area, which I think was they were filming at MGM in Florida. But anyways, they called the cops. They literally called the cops, saying that the New World Order was essentially assaulting like WCW wrestlers. Like, could you imagine taking that call and being the police, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's just like it makes me think of like recently when MJF talked about that car accident and people.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, man, with this, with the realism and stuff, there was other little elements, little things that they did that made the NWO edgy. And one of those things I think was really cool is how they did their promos. They were all in black and white, and it was all the following is a paid advertisement from the New World Order. Because it wasn't like, Mean Gene talking to him or whatever, because they wouldn't talk to them because they're not WCW. They're a separate entity into themselves.
They're invading.
That's right, dude. And I mean, it got interesting as the story would progress with the New World Order. Like they would even have like you would see them like if they wrestled matches on like WCW Saturday Night, they didn't actually wrestle them like in the arena there. They wrestled it like in an empty arena, and the whole thing was filmed in black and white. And it was like NWO Saturday Night or something like that. Like just little things like that said
You know, it'd been really cool
What's that?
if we could have figured out how to make this black and white. That'd been really cool.
Oh, that would be cool.
Be really dope.
Instead, we've got splooge all around us. But anyways, I didn't say that out loud. But anyways, so as
Can't say that on the internet.
Yeah. Whoopsie. But remember, this is Cole TV, and we do whatever the fuck we want. So as the story progresses on, like of course, Hollywood Hogan would win the World Heavyweight Championship back at the next month's pay-per-view event, Hog Wild in Sturgis, South Dakota, where he would defeat the Giant. And there comes another infamous moment in the New World Order. They take the big gold and they spray paint it NWO. Man, that was just such a like. I remember too because they were just like the announcers and everything. I was like, oh, this was the most vile and deplorable and despicable thing that they've ever seen in professional wrestling. Um, just at the time, it was just like so. Once again, this is so shocking. It was like that was the thing. The NWO just did stuff you didn't see. It was outside the norm at the time. It was edgy. It was reality based. And then when you look at the New World Order in these very early days, it just works so well with Hall, Nash, and Hogan as the core members. I mean, being the founding fathers, if you will, of the NWO. But we all know there would be a plethora of people that would walk through the New World Order. Now, the very first one to come around actually would be Ted DiBiase. And Ted DiBiase was presented as the mysterious benefactor for the New World Order. And at first, he was kind of like their mouthpiece. Not that the NWO needed a mouthpiece, but still, he would always. I'll never forget when he was like talking about like, okay, we're gonna have like a new member or whatever, this fourth member, and then you fast forward, and sure enough, the fourth member of the NWO. Do you know who it is?
Eric Bischoff,
Nope.
Macho Man.
Nope. Think-
Um,
Think
Big, the Giant.
The Giant. That's right. The Giant was the fourth member, or at least in-ring member, I should say, of the New World Order. And that happened on a Nitro too. I remember like when the NWO was kind of going at it with the Horsemen, with the Dungeon of Doom and WCW, and the Giant comes down, at the time a part of the Dungeon of Doom. You think he's gonna like, make the save and help out the Dungeon of Doom, but no. He turns on him and he joins the New World Order. How could he, right? But I think it was very beneficiary for the Giant to be a part of the New World Order at this time, because I mean he's still super ridiculously young. Matter of fact, if you think about it, B-roll, I don't even think he's a year into his wrestling career, barely at a year into his wrestling career at this point.
Yeah, we had talked about it before. Like, I said, man, like I don't remember a Big Show. Like I more of remember him like with like being bald, and you were like, oh, you were like, I'm the opposite. Like I remember him with hair,
long, luscious, flowing hair, so beautiful. Now at the time, kind of what was presented, the reason the Giant kind of joined the NWO was a couple of reasons, but also because Hollywood Hogan had promised the Big Show, or the Giant, I should say, a role in a movie. Now you ready for some trivia? I'm going to put you pop quiz. This actually is true. He did, quote unquote, get him a part in a movie, but what movie was it?
What year?
1996. And this is a movie that is still talked about to this day. Everybody watches this movie, especially a certain time of year. Let's put it that way. You should know this.
It's a Christmas movie, I can tell you that.
Yes.
What's that movie called?
You love this movie.
Turbo Man? Like
close. It's Jingle All the Way, but yes, the movie with the Turbo
that's the
Man.
movie? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Okay. I had to say Turbo Man because I could not think of the name of the movie.
How could you forget the name of the greatest Christmas movie of all time, Brent? I'm talking about Jingle All the Way, starring me and the Giant. The Giant comes in and he thinks he's all big and bad, but no, I decide I'm going to take him down because they gave me a cheap Turbo Man from Mexico because it speaks Spanish. Jamie, get down. Drop the cookie. I'm sorry, couldn't resist. But yes, boy, we went off on a tangent. I went off on a tangent.
You're a man of many talents.
Yeah. So just Jingle All the Way was the movie. But as this story progresses on with the New World Order, you have where War Games 1996, which I know you're pretty familiar with because you just watched that. And that was the first episode of Pro Wrestling Newbie. Available now over on World Championship Wreckage's YouTube channel. But the build up to that War Games was essentially like playing like mind games internally with WCW, because Team WCW was Lex Luger, Sting, Ric Flair, and Arn Anderson. And like the NWO teased that somebody from WCW was going to turn and join the NWO. Well, the way they turned it and teased it out, like that Nitro before War Games, Sting gets out of a limo with the NWO and he attacks Lex Luger. And it's like, holy shit, Sting is with the NWO. But then you get Sting saying, like, talking to Luger, saying, like, no, he's not He is not with the NWO, but WCW just doesn't believe it. Luger doesn't believe it. So you get to the War Games match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have all the members come out from the teams, and then you get Sting coming out, and you're like, holy shit. But then the fourth member comes out from WCW, and it's Sting. Sting comes out, does his thing. So you think Sting's going to be in the matchup and whatever, but no, doesn't happen. He does his business, and he's like, there. Are you happy? And then just that's that pretty much. And yeah, the rest they say is history. As the NWO would pick up another win against WCW, and it's interesting too because the way they did that is so cool. Because if you look back at that Fall Brawl, there's a backstage segment where they're talking to Sting, but you just see his face and the makeup. And if you
Yes.
notice, the Sting that comes out that night is actually it's actually the same makeup and same gear and stuff pretty much. So other than the tights are different colors. But the big thing with this is Sting's story after this. So now this has given Sting like a story arc of why he's like, you know what? You guys didn't believe me. I've been here from day one. I've been the heart and soul of WCW, and now you're giving me this shit. So and thus the Crow Sting was born. So, I mean, it's a very pivotal. So many pivotal things come out of the early days of the NWO, and this is definitely one of them.
Well, that is too, because I mean, Crow Sting was born, and that's how we know and love the I mean the icon. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine Sting any other way at all. I mean, I can't imagine him in any other way at all.
No.
But as promised,
Oh my God, is the third man here?
we did say we had a third man.
Oh my gosh. Who is the third man? Who's going to join us? Who is going to be a part? Oh my God, it's Dadhat's the third man. I didn't see that coming at all. What's up, buddy?
Oh, man.
Dadhat Wrestling has betrayed
What
something.
side is he on? But what side is he on?
Yes, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, the Bobby Heenan call that pretty much kind of ruined it, but like you just knew Bobby's hatred for Hogan throughout the years. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
he's just
yeah.
blowing smoke. But
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, y'all. Sorry I'm late. You know, little ones being under the weather and taking forever to go to sleep. But that dad
It's
life.
Yeah, it's okay, brother. It just added to the suspense.
yeah,
Because we just kept saying the whole time that we had a third man. So
just like Beach 96, here you are, man. So pretty much we've kind of run down the history of the NWO. We just got done talking about War Games 96. So now we've got where it's like the NWO is still running roughshod essentially in the very early days. You have adding more members. At this point, this is when they bring in 6 as part of the NWO as well. And then you have the Outsiders bring some gold into the NWO by winning the tag team titles at Halloween Havoc 96. Dadhat, we were talked about this earlier. Like what do you remember from your early as a kid watching this when Scott Hall showed up on that very first night on Nitro? Just the feelings you got. Were you just like, was your mind blown? Was it, or were you just like kind of like, oh my gosh, or were you kind of smart to it, or what'd you think?
I was in a weird position because, like, I live and grew up outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And so, like, WCW, I mean, I'm a WCW guy through and through. And, like, WWF was like, all right, I'll watch it if WCW's not on. I mean, but when Scott Hall walked down through the crowd, I, I was like, I know him, but I don't know him. And so when he jumped the railing, I didn't really know what was going on. Cause like, I was like, and then as I got older and everything, I was like, oh, I feel stupid now. That was Razor. But like, I mean, I was like, just didn't know.
Maybe you were kind of thinking like, why is Diamond Stud and Oz here? Like, what am I supposed to really care about that?
I mean, for him, for sure. For Diamond Stud, yeah, for sure. But like, it was one of those things where I'm like, there's a match going on, but part of me also was, I'm not saying I'm smart to the business then, but I was like, why is security not jumping in the ring and dragging this guy out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things. Like, I was like, okay, this is clearly part of it, but I mean, maybe it's not.
Yeah, that is true. Because I mean, You know, there is. Come on, there's something's going on here, obviously. But I don't know. Like I was telling B-roll, as a 10-year-old me, I was just like enthralled with it because I was like, oh my god, the WWF is invading WCW finally.
See, I just
Like,
didn't. I didn't flip the channel that much. I did not. I mean, most of my like 80s, 90s up until 97, 98 WWF is going back later on in life and watching it. But like my knowledge for NWO and WCW is like from watching it.
yeah, you lived it.
You lived it, you breathed it, like
I
you
mean,
enjoyed it.
when you see Ric Flair on the regular walking, in Charlotte, you're just you kind of, it's like, oh, there's my home team.
Yeah, I can understand that. I got to tell you this, man, as a kid too, I can remember turning over to WWF television and wondering if like, okay, is the NWO going to show up on here? Because I was still convinced for so many months that the NWO was just like part of the WWF. Like Vince McMahon was going to be revealed to be behind it all or something or whatever, you know. But no, as the NWO like was running roughshod through WCW, you have, of course, it gets revealed that Eric Bischoff is with the NWO, and then Bischoff kind of lays out like an edict that pretty much like you're either with us against us. So this is where you really start to see the expansion of the NWO. And I
Mhm.
gotta say, like the first expansion, it's okay. It's just not like heavy big names. Let's run it down here, B-roll. We're talking about guys like Big Bubba Rogers,
Yeah,
talking VK Wall Street,
pretty much
uh,
anybody that was in WWF.
pretty much, yeah. Although you did have, I will say this guy I think hugely benefited by being in the NWO, and that's Buff Bagwell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Buff Bagwell, like that's where he really found his niche as Buff Daddy. You also had Scott Norton, which I love Scott Norton. The Scott Norton was just like did not take shit from anybody, just a bad dude. He was also a part of that expansion. You even had referees B-roll. You had the dirty referee Nick
Nick
Patrick.
Patrick.
Oh man. You remember when the Dadhat? You remember when like Nick Patrick was like referee and he was like being a badass? He grew his like goatee out and his hair, and he
Yeah.
had like this cut off sleeves to show
Mhm.
his guns, if you will. It's just like, oh Jesus.
Nick Patrick, the referee that doesn't understand what a fast count is.
Yeah, among other things.
Mm.
So during this expansion period, to once again B-roll, you do have the NWOs just dominating. You have Hulk Hogan's going to war with like the Macho Man Randy Savage and Roddy Piper, who is brought into WCW to counter Hogan. The Giant wins World War III, which is supposed to guarantee him a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. And hey, cheap plug, if you want to know more about World War III's history, you should check out World Championship Wreckage's latest episode about World War III over there on the YouTube channel. Just saying.
Just saying, that's also the third plug. We've got you, brother.
We've got
Yeah.
you covered, man. But the first
He was frozen. He was so speechless. He was frozen.
Yeah.
But the first defector from the NWO would actually be the Giant, because the Giant was going to get the world title shot against Hogan. Obviously, Hogan's like, no, brother, we can't do that. And thus the Giant goes back to WCW essentially. And I think would be like an early, like, just set the stages for the Big Show's career as being like the biggest tweener in all
Mhm.
professional wrestling. I mean, shit. Because B-roll, we're going to talk about it. Guess what? In about a year, fucking the Giant goes back to the NWO. It's just like,
He's a flip flop.
yeah, he
He
flip
is.
flops more than anybody in pro wrestling, man. So this matchup for the Giant, it all led to the NWO's very first pay per view sold out.
I just remember the beginning, the pre-tape of them on the back of garbage trucks going down a snowy city road at night, and I'm just like, that must have been miserable to film.
Oh yes, and let me tell you, B-roll, the NWO is so edgy, so badass. Like if you were gonna have your first pay per view, right, you would do it in like a pretty awesome city, right? So it made sense when they held the first NWO pay-per-view in Des Moines, Iowa. Woo!
I knew it
I
was.
was-
For some reason I knew it was Iowa.
I
I
always
knew
was
it.
like, why the fuck are they going? I mean, I knew because it's WCW. I was like, come on, man, you can't do that show anywhere else. You're doing it in fucking Iowa.
But the set for that pay per view, beautiful. To
The
me, probably
set-
one of my favorite sets
The
of
set is
WCW.
pretty cool, and you got to keep in mind, back in the day, B-roll, what we as wrestling fans were all used to was just Sunday night pay-per-views. This was interesting because it was a Saturday night, so it was like, okay, setting it apart, like, ooh, we're even more edgier because we're on Saturdays. I do got one gripe about this show though, Dadhat, and
Is how much the NWO lost.
well, that's part of it, but no, my biggest gripe, honestly, the Miss NWO contest.
yeah.
Yikes. I mean, not that it's like, okay, you can have a Miss NWO contest, but good God almighty, can you get some attractive woman in this thing? I mean, it's literally, they went to like a local bar in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's like, okay,
We did.
these are the best we can do. You come with us.
Okay,
Is
that's good.
this
Is
that crappy pay per view you had on that one time when I was over? And I was like, what the crap is this?
Oh my God, it is. Holy shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, it is.
I was about to say we need the Miss NWO contest is gonna have to be one of your reacts videos for the YouTube channel there.
Oh, yeah, we got to do that. You got to do that. That would be a good one to react to. But that being said, I mean, there was some cool stuff on this show, like you say, the set, the five.
Eddie
There's some-
Guerrero versus Six.
Yes, Eddie Guerrero and Six in a ladder match is the match of the night by far. An awesome ladder match, which you got to keep in mind, B-roll. They did not do ladder matches in WCW. Matter of fact, Dadhat, is that literally maybe the only like ladder match I think I can? Well, no, that's not true. In 2000s, they did one with like the Young Dragons and 3 count.
They were
but-
big on the pole matches, coal miner's glove.
Yeah, definitely big on those. But they put it to you this way: there was not a whole lot of ladder matches in WCW. Also, there's a great opener with Masahiro Chono against Chris Jericho on this show as well, which is a really good matchup. But as you get past the first pay-per-view and NWO's like running roughshod once again through WCW, I mean, they're just dominating. One of the first kind of big like moments that happens, in my opinion, is like with this moment, A Star is Born, because this is the very first man that turns down joining the NWO, and that's DDP. Like DDP, like you think DDP, because he's been a bad guy pretty much all of his career. And you think, okay, for sure he's going to join the NWO. It's established he has a friendship with Hall and Nash. But you get to that moment, and DDP, and you'll never forget it, delivers that diamond cutter to Scott Hall, takes Nash out, and like he became like a white meat babyface like that.
The
So
crowd,
over.
I mean, the pop on that is insane.
That crowd pop's insane.
But I was so mad as a kid because I like when he put that shirt on, I was like, yes, it just felt so right.
He would have made a good NWO member, but I mean, honestly, with how it went, I think it was so much wiser on their end to make him like
Oh
be,
yeah, no, I agree.
be a
but that's
baby
just
face and like against the NWO. It would have been cool though. I will say this too. In the whole time of Diamond Dallas Page's career, one thing I respect about him too is like during different incarnations, he never once joined or was a part of the NWO affiliated with them at all.
nope. He was close to making this. I
He
remember
was
that episode
close, but yeah,
when he got the crap beat out of him with the chairs.
yeah. But I mean, you talk about literally A Star is Born, man, is when DDP like turned against the NWO and didn't join them. I mentioned Masahiro Chono. Also, this time frame too, we can't forget. They start recruiting a ton of international stars. You do see the Great Muta come over and start teaming with Masahiro Chono. They had some great matches with the Steiner brothers too, among other teams. Believe it or not, too, there was also some other members from New Japan Pro Wrestling as well, like Hiroshu Tensan was also a member of the NWO at one point. We saw him for a little bit, and then I believe Masa Saito was also in the NWO for a very brief time frame as
I
well.
forgot about that.
Yeah, it's very brief, like for like a tour or a match or something like that. But the NWO, they're just blowing up, man. They got so many damn members. That's not even funny, man. And then of course,
And in hindsight, I look back on it, like you watch any of these interviews with Bischoff, Hall, Nash, like they all thought that they were going to have their quote unquote own show. So of course they're going to have talent for it. So looking back on it, like I see what they were doing. Like I get that. It just didn't happen, which we like Will and I on World Championship Wreckage. That was going to be one of the topics, but his topic didn't win. Was the unofficial brand split and how Nitro kind of was designated to the NWO and Thunder was designated to the wrestling.
Oh, that's a good point. By the way, can you hear me okay? I think my mic got unplugged.
Now you're a little echoey.
Yeah. I mean, we can hear you, but it's just not as crisp
Clear.
and pristine as it normally is. How about now?
hey, you like me now?
Beautiful.
All right.
Hey yo.
Hey yo. So as the NWO's time goes on here, you do have where you get more members, like you have Conan join up with the New World Order. You do lose some members though, but like Big Bubba, Wall Street, and Ted DiBiase leave the group, which I mean, no offense against Boss Man or IRS, but I mean it's just kind of like they were there for a cup of coffee, you know.
DiBiase, I was sad to see leave. I thought he
Yeah,
was a good
now
fit.
DiBiase, like he actually said the reason he left because he felt bad about what the NWO was doing to WCW. So he
Yeah.
actually ended up joining up with the Steiner brothers and
Steiners,
becoming their
yeah.
manager for a little while. So, but I think early on too, one of the biggest stories or one of the biggest impacts of like showing like NWO, like how appealing they were to the public. You mentioned him earlier tonight, B-Roll. He's your favorite NWO member. You got to talk about when Dennis Rodman comes out and joins the NWO. Rod
the
Silla,
worm.
baby. The
I
worm.
had him stumped.
Well, he
So that
said
was
a
your favorite
former.
member?
Well, he said it was a former 4-time world champion, but in
Oh,
actuality,
whatever.
he's a 5-time champion.
Yeah.
But he didn't mention that it wasn't in wrestling. So,
But we
That's a
got
good-
to that
that's a
point
good
at some,
step.
but nonetheless, but with Dennis Rodman's time, because you got to keep in mind, Dennis Rodman had already established an on-screen relationship with Hulk Hogan through the years. And at the time, it was like a perfect marriage too, because you got this hot faction, the NWO, and Dennis Rodman, arguably the most controversial athlete at the time, just always constantly in the media, part of that legendary Chicago Bulls franchise run there for those 3 years. What are you chuckling about, B-Roll? Are you thinking of Dennis Rodman in a wedding dress? Is that why you're chuckling?
No, I just had a thought.
When's WWE going to release that figure?
Right? Yeah. Hey, seriously though,
I'll pre-order it.
Dennis Rodman should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
The
in my
celebrity
opinion.
wing, yeah.
Do you
I
really want to
think
know
so.
why I'm chuckling?
Why?
What's one thing Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman have in common besides being the members of the NWO? Keep in mind, we probably shouldn't say this on the internet.
They have questionable taste with Bubba the Love Sponge.
Something sexual,
No.
obviously.
Don't they both have tapes?
I don't think
Oh,
Rodman
yes.
does. Did Rodman have a sex tape?
I just assumed he did. He's Dennis Rodman.
I don't think Rodman has a sex tape, believe it or not.
I'm scared to Google it.
Don't.
Yeah, Google it and tell us what you find. But Dennis Rodman, like I say, one of the most controversial athletes at the time. I'll never
I
forget
could have
this
swore we
too.
just saw a commercial for this. I'm sorry, I'm on this tangent now.
Are you trying to find Dennis Rodman's sex tape?
No, there was a commercial and they were talking about how they were gonna Rich and Shameless or whatever, and they're gonna cover.
What the fuck are you talking about? What?
Hit the Wikipedia shit and let's call it a day.
You're so confusing me right now. Anyways, anyways, back to the topic at hand here with Rodman. I find it fascinating. Like you look back on that Bulls documentary they did, and how they were talking about like how he was literally leaving from practice to be like part of like these WCW events.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man, to think. And the thing is, like Rodman is such a pivotal member of that Bulls franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, as great as Michael Jordan was, I think Michael will be the first one to tell you, like, Rodman was a
Scottie Pippen,
yeah,
Rodman,
oh
Kurt.
my, oh yeah. I mean, those was like the three musketeers of the Bulls, if you will. Yeah, yeah. I want to hear more about these tapes. Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah, CDC, you Google it for us, please.
Yeah, give us the info. Give us the 411 on
He's gonna be like, I found the link, and he's gonna send it to us, and it's gonna be his tape.
that. There you go, man. So let's fast forward a little bit here and let's go to Bash at the Beach 97. And this is the infamous tag team matchup where you have Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman going up against Lex Luger and the Giant. And just I remember like first time seeing Rodman in like in the ring, and I'll never forget when he like I think he leapfrogged over the Giant, if my memory serves me correct. It's just like holy shit.
He's an
Like,
athlete.
yeah. But I mean Rodman was pretty decent like in the ring, I thought. I always was impressed with what he could do in the ring. But just the hype on this matchup, man, it was freaking huge. I'll never forget too. I was a huge NBA fan at the time as well. Like
Mhm.
turning on ESPN the next morning, and this is like one of the top stories they're covering is freaking Bash at the Beach 97. It's just like
Well,
my
you
mind
see,
is blown.
in this time, how big wrestling was to the outside world, to
Yeah.
non-fans. Like, I use my wife as an example all the time. Like, we went to middle school and high school, and at this time we were in middle school, and she knows nothing about wrestling, but she knows the people from this time period because she says every guy was wearing an Austin shirt, an NWO shirt, a Sting shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just so ridiculously over. You didn't even like you knew the logo, but you may not have known exactly what it was pertaining to, but you knew what the hell you knew the NWO black and white shirt is arguably probably the most eye appealing, like profitable like wrestling shirt other than the Austin 316 shirt. I mean,
I
they're
was
both
wearing this. I don't remember if it was this one. I have the Wolfpack one too. I was wearing it, I don't know, a week and a half ago, and my wife and I were walking through a mall with the kids, and there's a security guard, and not just like regular mall cop. This was he had a canine, like he was a legit cop, and he just looks at me, or I wasn't even looking at him. He goes, "Hey," I turn around, he's like, and like just too sweet to me. I'm like, see, the
that's
shirt brings people.
amazing.
The shirt brings people together.
It really does. I mean, that logo, and the amazing thing to me about it is how simplistic it is. Black
Yeah.
and white, baby. I mean, but
But the thing is, people get it confused because everybody thinks like this is the original. The original didn't have the words underneath it. It was
it
just
just said,
the letter and the block.
oh, that's right. I didn't even think
Yeah,
about
It
that.
didn't
Yeah.
have the words underneath it.
That's kind of like one of those Freudian things there. Yeah, I didn't. You're absolutely right. Like I still like picture it to this day, and I still think it's got the whole spelled out. But you're absolutely right. That's crazy, man. But so Bash at the Beach '97. We get to where Luger and the Giant pick up the win for WCW. And this is like a huge thing for WCW at the time, too, because I mean, dude, NWO had just been dominating them all throughout. And an unsung hero we got to talk about during this time frame, too, Lex Luger, man. Lex Luger was like the top babyface going up against NWO. And he had so many moments where they made Luger just look like this badass. Like go back to that World War III in '96. It's literally down to like 4-on-1 against Luger, and Luger shows this superhuman strength and eliminates Scott Hall, Kevin Nash at 6. You think he's going to eliminate the Giant, but no, the Giant wins that World War III. Anyways, fast forward to like an uncensored '97, and you got the NWO team against WCW's team and Roddy Piper's team, and it gets down to like the final 4 members of the NWO and Luger. Once again, the same thing happens, man, where Luger like starts running roughshod. throwing people out left and right. And then we get to an episode of Nitro right before the Road
Nitro, yeah.
Wild, which is so crazy too, because the match was going to happen at Road Wild and had been built up for so freaking long. But we have on Nitro Hulk Hogan against Lex Luger for the WCW title. And sure enough,
And
man,
Luger wins.
Luger wins the belt. And it's just, I'll never forget like the facial expression on like Randy Anderson's face, who's the referee in that matchup, where he like Luger's got Hogan up in the torture rack and he submits, and Randy Anderson's just like, it's just like he's reacting, and then like Bobby Heenan, Shivani, all of them's going crazy. The crowd is going fucking nuts, man. And like the first thing they do, man, they take like some soap and wipe off that NWO off of the big gold belt, man, because WCW's got the belt back. But the crazy thing is, B-roll only lasted for 5 days, because at the Road Wild pay-per-view, Luger would drop the title back to Hollywood Hogan.
We'll get to I'm sure we'll get to a title change that was even less than that still to this day pisses me off.
Oh, there's several of them throughout the years.
You held up the
creative control, brother.
You held up the action figure XLJ, like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Spring Stampede 1998. Next night on Nitro.
Yep, and that is kind of when the NWO really is splintering off. But before we get to that, you do have like some other pivotal moments going on as well. You can't forget about how the NWO pretty much destroyed the Four Horsemen at Fall Brawl 97. Where
one of my favorites, and it wasn't it wasn't the Hogans, like it was Nash, Bagwell, Conan,
Six.
Yep. Is it just those four?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole thing was, at the time, it was like the Four Horsemen were just kind of on the ropes. Oh my God, is there a link for the Dennis Rodman thing in the chat? Did I miss this? Blocked Rodman's. Oh dear God. Anyways, see what you did, B-roll.
There you go, folks.
But no, so that War Games matchup, so it was like the Horsemen. Arn hadn't been wrestling for a while, because I mean Arn had to retire essentially because of injuries.
Yeah.
So there's that infamous, like, I'll give you my spot as the enforcer to Kurt Hennig. And you think Kurt Hennig's going to be a part of the Horsemen. You get to this matchup, and Kurt turns, joins the NWO. I'll never forget like the cage door slamming on like Flair repetitively, and just how like at the time it just like, as a kid, it was just like, and the way the announcers built it up, I remember them talking about the next night on Nitro, like it was just this horrific thing that happened.
It legit, I've seen interviews with him, it legit took a layer of skin off of his head.
Yeah, I mean, they slammed the shit out of that door on him. I mean, there's no faking that, man. But so this is just another thing the NWO does, and like you say, Dadhat, it's not even like the Hogan or the top tier. It's like the other members of the group. I don't want to say lower members, but like let's call space. But I guess you could say Bagwell and Conan as like and Six as mid card wrestlers at this point. Mm-hmm. But from there we go to they destroy the Horsemen, but then you finally get what we'd all been waiting for. Sting finally returns. I'll never forget that it was actually the last Clash of the Champions they ever did, where like the NWO is celebrating, and I think they're celebrating their 1-year anniversary together after they just defeated Lex Luger and DDP in the main event. I think it was Savage and Hall beat them. But anyways, you see Sting up in the rafters, and he's got his crow, man, and like he sends the crow down to the like ringside, and the NWO's just flipping out, and then you have the build to like this huge matchup at Starrcade 97, what we'd all been wanting to see, Sting going up against Hogan. It's just a shame it didn't live up to the hype, because the match itself, the finish, you talked about it earlier with Nick Patrick, man, like this was just like, that finish just totally fucked the match.
Had it been done correctly, it would have been amazing, because it makes the Bret Hart thing make sense.
Yep.
Like he's not gonna no one's gonna get screwed out of a title. But it's clear as day that it's a regular 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
It is not.
Dadhat, let me ask you this: do you think if Luger didn't win the belt like a couple months beforehand, do you think like if it would have made it a little bit more monumental for Sting winning the belt?
Yeah.
I feel like it was like Luger was due, but at the same time too, it really did take away from like Sting's like insane moment.
Luger was everybody remembers Crow Sting being like the WCW advocate and the one defending WCW and fighting off the entire group by himself. But Luke, he was doing it, but he was up in the rafters more and everything. Luger was the one in the ring every week with somebody from the NWO at pay-per-views against someone. Like he was the one doing the work at this time. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's warranted to take that title, but I would have preferred just for him to wait and let the big celebration in the ring be with Sting.
Yeah, I agree. Even as a kid back then, I kind of thought like, well, this was cool, but it's not as cool of a moment because Hogan's only held the belt for like a couple months. So, but there was that controversy from Starrcade '97. You do get some more members joining the NWO. You have Rick Rude and Dusty Rhodes joining the NWO. Like when Dusty joined, I was just kind of like, huh?
Loved it.
Like,
Loved it.
I was just kinda like, "Okay, I'm not sure why he's with them, but it's like, okay." I wasn't I gotta be honest here, like, back in the day, I was not a huge Dusty Rhodes fan because I think
Oh,
of
I love
Dusty as,
Dusty.
like, hold on, Dusty on Color. But when I got older and kind of like started looking back like at the history and like what you looking at Dusty Rhodes at what he was, that's when I became a true Dusty Rhodes fan. But as a kid, I wasn't a huge Dusty fan because I just thought he was kind of like the fat guy on the WCW commentary team that like had these stupid sayings like "Come on over to the mothership, baby, on Saturday night, if you will. He's got plunder, you know." But I love Dusty now though. So here's another huge moment in the history of the NWO. What about when Scott Steiner turns on his brother, his flesh and
Super
blood, Rick
Brawl.
Stein, at Super Brawl 8 and joins the NWO? And Scott Steiner's another guy, too, that I think hugely benefited by joining the NWO with like
Without
really
the
tapping
NWO,
in.
there is no Big Papa Pump.
You're right. They're absolutely right, man. I mean, he was the Steiner brothers team is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Don't get me wrong there, but I mean, it was time for Scott Steiner to move on into a singles career. And like the way they did Scotty Steiner too at first, like kind of making him just that chicken shit heel, like running from his brother. I'll never forget like the series of pay-per-views where it's like you're going against Rick Steiner, but you feigned an injury and just all
I
this
got a
other
doctor's note. I got a doctor's note.
yeah, just all this tomfoolery and just bullshit like leading up to that that matchup that they would finally have later on in the year. But we got to talk about Dadhat. You mentioned it earlier. We got to talk about how we start getting dissension in the NWO, and that's where it's like all kind of coming to fruition that like it's all about Hogan and it's all about the world title. And then you have where like you have let's talk about Spring Stampede. The Macho Man dethrones Sting for that world championship. It's like hell yeah, Macho
Yep.
Man's the NWO. But what the hell happens the next night on Nitro? He drops it to Hogan
Yep.
because yay, WCW
Hogan
booking.
must have a belt at all times.
Creative control, brother. That's where it comes
Oh, I
in.
know.
brother.
That's right. Just fucking stupid. And you gotta keep in mind too, at this time frame, like Macho Man's like red hot. Like I mean, Macho Man was always
This is
over,
my
but
favorite version of Macho is the
yeah.
NWO. Like the figure you held up, I had that figure as a kid, and like that's my favorite version.
Well, you talk about like an amazing performer, like evolving and stuff. We talk about like, for example, Chris Jericho, how he's evolved his
Mhm.
character over the years.
Was
Think
just
about
thinking the
this with
same thing.
with the Macho Man, how like everything he did in the '80s, and then like in the early '90s with the flamboyant, over the top outfits and persona and stuff, and then you get him in the NWO, and it's just like Macho Man in '98. It's just like he's cool. I don't know other way to
Mhm.
describe it. He's just cool. He is hip. He's like
Yeah.
the hip, cool NWO member.
Yeah.
Macho Man to me, like if you look at the entire history of the NWO, yes, the Hogan Sting, probably the best storyline in that time frame. But Macho Man had the best feud of the NWO. Him, Diamond
And
Dallas
DDP.
Page.
Yeah.
Those three is short-lived 3 matches, and man, were they bangers.
Oh, they were great. Oh,
Every single one of
incredible.
them.
And DDP will be the first one to tell you too, like if it wasn't for that feud, that wouldn't have like put him over. We talked about that moment where he turned on the NWO, but you're right, that feud, that rivalry with the Macho Man. And I think it kind of like reinvigorated the Macho Man too, if you think about it. Because I mean, Savage was kind of like, okay, he's the crusader for WCW or whatever. Then it's like, okay, well, we got nothing for you. I guess we're gonna put you in the NWO. What the hell, right?
It
And
really
then,
showcased the madness, the savage side of him, because
yeah,
you saw that violent side of him in those matches.
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. What's up, Deontay? How you doing, brother? But as we get this dissension in the NWO, and we get to now, we have these 2 groups. You have NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack. And like at this point, me as a kid, I'm kind of over the NWO, but the cool kids set in the back of the bus was definitely NWO Wolfpack, and I love me some NWO Wolfpack. I think everybody
Same.
does. I
Same.
mean, you got Kevin Nash, you got Macho Man Randy Savage, you have Conan, and then you have joining them, interestingly enough, is Lex Luger and Sting. You
Can I tell you a brief story about that?
Of course.
So that whole lead up, where is Sting gonna be? Is he gonna choose Hollywood? Is he gonna choose the Wolfpack and everything? So I remember, to this day, I remember this, and it's the one thing in wrestling history where I'm like, damn it, I missed it seeing it live. I had to go to, there was something that I had to be at for school that Monday night. And I was like, okay, we're gonna tape it so I can watch it when we get home. And my mom did not hit record before we left. And so like I went to school the next day and did not know what had happened. Everybody was like, oh my God, can you believe it? And I'm like, I didn't get to see it. So like the first time I saw Sting make his decision was the recap on Thunder that week.
Oh, no.
I'm still sour about that.
I'm not bitter.
So it's interesting because like the Wolfpack is just like, and at this point too, they're the first NWO version really or NWO group that really is like true blue babyface. You know, you have like they cheered because they love cheering the bad guy, but at this point it's like, no, the Wolfpack's like they're the baby faces.
Killer music, cool.
Oh my
The
gosh,
coolest members, like
the colors even go on the red and black. Oh man, it was so good. And then of course you have NWO Hollywood, which is still consisting of Hollywood Hogan. And then you've got like members. It's just like Scott Norton's there still, Buff Bagwell, Scott Steiner.
the Disciple.
You got to talk about the Disciple, yes.
Brutus the Barber
Beefcake, which is so weird to me because I still like look back on that era with him, and with the sunglasses and stuff, he just does not look like Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I'm right there with you.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the
B-roll, if you haven't
assless
looked that up,
chaps.
just look up the Disciple. Look up the Disciple and see if you can tell that's Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard to
Like
tell,
pull up a
man.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake picture, pull up a Disciple picture.
And we're not talking the Disciples of Apocalypse either.
No.
For you wrestling fans or any other disciple throughout the history of time. Then you also, another guy you have join up with NWO Hollywood. A lot of people forget about this guy, but Brian Adams. Brian Adams was a member of the NWO Hollywood. Yeah. And I can't remember. Did I mention Bret Hart? Because Bret Hart's in there too as well. As a member.
I love Bret Hart as an NWO member.
Okay, I was going to ask you, like, was that sarcasm, or you really did like Bret Hart?
No, I did.
Oh,
I did.
Okay.
Like, I hate him for what his opinions and everything outside of the ring and everything. But I'm sorry, there's a reason why he is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I love me some Bret Hart. And I know that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I love watching a Bret Hart match and a Bret Hart promo. I would watch Bret Hart over Shawn Michaels. Like, I will throw that out there right now.
Well, you know my thoughts.
Like, I would yeah, I would rather have Bret Hart versus The Undertaker than Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. And yes, I know I get a lot of heat for that.
I'm right there with you, though, dude.
But I
the
loved
photo in the background.
I loved him with the U.S. title. Like, yeah, I was fine with him being a world champion, but like, I loved him with that U.S. title for some reason. I think it was because by that point I was flipping channels in '97, and I love he's a hero in Canada. He's a heel in America. So the fact that you give him as a heel the U.S. title, I was like, they're just playing off what they did in WWF. But no, and he would always come out in the Hogan shirt. He would never come out with just the NWO shirt. He'd be wearing that Hogan
that's true.
one.
That is true. I never really thought about that. You're absolutely right. It was always the Hogan shirt, which is weird too in hindsight when you think about with the real life heat. Yeah, between the two of them, but whatever. It is what it is. Payday's a payday, brother. So at this point too, you got the Macho Man does get hurt and is pretty much out for about a year. Now let's talk Scott Hall though, because Scott Hall is with the Wolfpack at first. But then in a shocking turn of events at Slamboree of 1998, he turns on his longtime partner Kevin Nash and sides with NWO Hollywood. And then
that hurt the heart a little bit as a kid.
Yeah, because I was pretty shocked because I was like, that I did not see happening. I didn't see Hall and Nash getting split up like that.
Yeah.
But it did lead to a rivalry between the two, but unfortunately it was like too reality based because they played a lot off of Scott Hall's demons essentially with alcoholism and I did not think that worked. I don't think it I don't know. I couldn't get into that story. Like, even though, I mean, it was obviously reality based, but I guess for me, it was like somebody who I loved, I didn't want to, even though, yes, that was going on, I didn't want to see that side of them, like in the wrestling ring. You know what I mean?
And Halloween Havoc 98, where literally it's just Nash power bombing him like 80 times in the ring and then walks away. There's no pin. There's nothing. He's just like, I've made my point.
And that's it. Bye. That's it. And then all in the summer of 98, you pretty much got the Wolfpack against the Hollywood, as well as them doing their own thing. And we got to talk about that summer, Hollywood Hogan involved in some huge tag team matchups. First at Bash at the Beach 98, where we get the return of Rod Silla, but this time it's the battle of the NBA stars, man. Because now we've got the Dennis Rodman joining him up with Hogan, of course, but then you got Karl Malone joining up with Diamond Dallas Page. And I mean, as much as they were covering the year before, like in sports and then in pop culture, they were covering the shit out of this because this is like two. And the crazy thing is, too, it worked out so beautiful for WCW. That was who was in the finals that year of the NBA Finals was literally Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman. And the timing's perfect because like the NBA Finals, I think, ended at around like June or something, and this match takes place in July. So you can almost tie in the NBA Finals from 98 into like WCW's Bash at the Beach 98 main event. It's just crazy. It's crazy to think of that. And Malone.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say Malone could go, man. Malone was a physical specimen too. Yeah, he looked great in there.
And I'm sure you're going into that next. We go from DDP and Malone to DDP and Jay Leno, which still bothers me that Jay Leno wins, but the actual athlete that is Karl Malone loses.
Right. Well, the biggest thing that bothered me was when Jay Leno had Hulk Hogan in a wrist lock. Like that, it was just like, Jesus Christ! You don't need to be
pictures.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. The Jay Leno stuff, I hated, but I mean, it was good exposure for WCW because I mean they were a part of like the highest rated like late night show and the Tonight Show and taking it over and stuff.
You just gave me that I was gonna say this just gave me an idea for B-roll for his reacts. I'm gonna write this down. He needs to react to that time that Hogan and Bischoff take over the Tonight Show.
That would be a good one. You just want to torture him though. Like we got to put some good stuff in there for him too.
Oh, I am. I gave him. Let's
You
see, what
did
did I
give him a
him
good one
first?
to start, the NWO.
Yeah,
And I know the
yeah,
next
and
episode that's coming up
yeah,
is gonna be a good one.
yeah.
So
But yeah, the funny thing about that Tonight Show episode was like my degree's in theater. I'm an actor. I work in the theater world still to this day when I have time outside of what the job that makes me money. But like I love Jay Leno for like the opening. So like a lot of times I would I was up enough late enough. My mom would let me watch. Like she's like, even though you gotta go to school, like you can watch the Jay Leno opening. You can watch the jokes and everything. Well, when that happened, I was like, I can't go to bed.
yeah,
like I'm sorry. Like, and she's just like, and so she actually let me stay up. That was her redeeming for making me miss the Sting joining the Wolfpack.
there you go. That at least you kind of got a cool moment to redeem a cool moment that you missed. So, but
Because
I mean
that was weird. It
and I
felt
remember
real.
they did the Tonight Show set on like I think it was Thunder. I want to say
Thunder.
on
Yeah.
an episode of Thunder, and then like that. But the match itself at Hog Wild that year, Road Wild that year, was just like it was junk.
Horrible.
It was hard to watch, but
Horrible.
it's a part of the history nonetheless, and we got to talk about it.
Yes, it is.
Now, at this point, too, NWO Hollywood, let's call a spade, is pretty watered down. You also have members like new members joining, such as Stevie Ray. No offense against Stevie Ray.
No, I love Stevie Ray in the NWO. Like I love Stevie
Really?
Ray's in the Yeah. Like I liked him in as bad as the '98 War Games is. It's one of my favorites because of how
Because of
bad it is.
Stevie Ray?
Yeah, and because Stevie Ray's in it. Like
I
don't know.
love Stevie Ray, but I just didn't. I thought it was like okay, well, Booker T's like taking off. I guess we got to give you something. Oh shit, let's just put you with the NWO. That's the way I looked at it.
To me, it gave him a platform, gave him something
Yeah.
to do. Like it made him look stronger than what he was doing before.
You know what? I'll definitely give you that. But also at this time frame too, what about Hollywood Hogan's nephew, Horace? Oh dear God! Of course, Horace, a member of the Flock, and then the Flock kind of goes away and
Fizzled.
essentially, fizzled out. And it's like, okay, we're gonna say you are because I'm gonna plead. I can't remember in real life was really Horace the nephew of Hogan.
I don't know if it was ever actually confirmed.
I don't know if I ever got confirmed, but storyline wise, it was okay. Horace is the nephew of Hulk Hogan, essentially. So that's why. That's why Horace was in the NWO Hollywood. But you do have like the Wolfpack's going strong and very appealing. You know, they're the cool kids, like I said. And then we get to that moment where Kevin Nash wins World War III and thus gets a guaranteed title shot. And remember, the champion at this time is Goldberg in that phenomenal undefeated streak. But guess what, kiddos? Guess who's the head of booking as well at the time? That's
Big
right.
Sexy.
Big Sexy. And what was one of the biggest fiascos, if you ask me, is Kevin Nash ending the streak of Goldberg.
So I said this on our World War III episode. Everybody points at Vince Russo coming to WCW or the finger poke of doom as like the start of the downfall. I stand by that Kevin Nash winning World War III is the start of the decline. It's not a straight slope. It's like, all right, if you're running the course, it's just slow. It's going so slow down the hill that you just don't notice that it's going downhill. Other stuff makes it go a little bit more, but this was the start of the decline. It's a slow downhill.
You honestly have no argument from me there. I think that's a perfect analogy because at this point too, like NWO Hollywood, like Hogan's not even around. There's like the rumors that Hogan's going to retire because remember also at this time frame too, Hogan goes on the Tonight Show and announces his presidency. He's going to run for president of the United States, which is just so idiotic on a multitude of levels. Number one, like Hogan was just feuding with Jay Leno like a month before this, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now he's gonna run for president. Like, no,
Kayfabe.
yeah, just ridiculous.
Is dead.
But yes, you do get Kevin Nash wins the world title. You do get him reunited with Scott Hall. And finally, you also get the approval of one Disco Inferno joining the Wolfpack. Oh, look,
That
the champ is here.
hey, mine's somewhere over there.
Hey,
Like-
I mean, if you gotta take a potty break, I mean, full disclaimer here, we keep no secrets here on learning the ropes. You might as well get your world heavyweight title while you're at it.
But I don't see the NWO on it, bro. How come
I
you didn't
know.
spray paint it?
I mean, honestly, we've talked about it so much. I was just like, I kind of want my title.
But Dadhat, you mentioned it. Oh,
Go get
oh,
it. Go
you're
get
gonna
it.
get
Come
it,
on.
aren't you?
Come on.
All right, mine's just right here beside my desk
Oh,
because eventually there will be a bookshelf back there, and I can or since I am leaving my current job, I might just prop it up in the corner on my desk right here, so I'm always looking at
the big gold. I love how you've got it in like a backpack or like a special bag or something.
it. Gotta keep it pristine, man.
You do. This is true. See that beautiful gold belt. Oh yeah. Oh man. Pretty nice. I'm jealous over here. I want to go grab like a belt, but like my
You
only
got your
one I
you
got.
got your you got your big eagle.
Yeah, I got the gold, the beautiful winged eagle. I'm staring at it, but it's too far away. But anyways, you talked about it earlier, like you mentioned it. Let's talk about I think, like you said, the downward slide is with Nash winning World War III, but definitely the moment people identify as that finger poke of doom moment.
Man, I missed the Carl Malone part. Oh man.
Oh yeah. That's
See,
what
I knew about that though. I knew about that.
That's what happens when you take a potty break, brother, and go grab that gold belt. But yeah, the finger poke of doom. Everybody's talked about it. Just like Nash going up against Hogan, and then pokes Nash. Nash lays down. Hogan's back in control again, and now Hogan's part of the Wolfpack. This was a really weird fucking time because
It's hybrid. Like they had the tie-dye red
yeah,
and
and they were
white
like
or split
NWO.
screen.
They called it NWO Wolfpack Elite. And then you had NWO Elite, NWO B Team. It was just like, what the fuck is with
Led
all
by
these
Stevie Ray.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. The battle for B Team. Yeah, it was like, I'm the leader,
Virgil.
Stevie Ray. Nope, Vincent's the leader.
Oh,
Nope, Horace Hogan's the leader. It's just like, the leader of what? Why the hell you
Yeah.
want to be the leader of that, man?
The Thunder Squad.
Yeah, pretty much. Hell, at one you almost get to the point the Saturday Night Squad or the Worldwide Squad. But yeah, at this point, it's just like, okay, so now you have this hybrid where it's essentially Hogan, Nash, Hall, Scott Steiner, Buff Bagwell, Lex Luger. Sting's not with them at this point, I don't think. I think Sting may have been hurt or something. But
Sting got hurt at '98 Halloween Havoc.
oh,
and
that's
came
right.
back.
Yeah.
Came back in the black and white in like April for Spring Stampede.
Yeah, at this point, it's like he's just going back to Crow Sting essentially. So, but yeah, it just this NWO was just a mess, and unfortunately, it doesn't get any better. Like we've talked about the better parts of the NWO, now we're talking about the worst parts essentially. But you pretty much just have
There's a highlight
injuries.
coming up. There's a highlight coming up. We'll get there.
Which one are you thinking?
I'm sorry, but I love NWO Black and Silver.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about that. But I guess the problem with that is it was so short-lived.
It was.
Like,
it was.
because, but of course, that was due to injuries too. Because I mean, pretty much B-roll at this point, like in I think April of '99, I would say like the NWO is pretty much done. Like we're not really doing NWO or anything like that. But as we fast forward here, yes, the NWO would be brought back in 2000 as the NWO Silver, and this is a unique incarnation because you have the Outsiders with Bret Hart, Jeff Jarrett, and Scott Steiner. And I agree, Dadhat. This was pretty cool to see these together, and then like also too, I believe Bret was kind of classified as the leader because he was the world champion.
Yep. Yep. I thought it worked well. I mean, it made everybody know again. Other things I get heat for being a Jeff Jarrett fan. It gave Jeff Jarrett something to do.
Yeah, that's
Help
true. I
it,
mean,
it helped
and
make him a quote unquote main eventer. Like,
yeah, and I think also at this point too, you're really getting the evolution of Jeff Jarrett into like being like the Jeff Jarrett who was like the one of the top faces in WCW in 2000, Slapnuts Jeff Jarrett essentially, the stroke, if you will. But I think NWO Silver really helped establish that version of Jeff Jarrett, even though I think literally were they together maybe a month or two.
it was short lived.
It's very
But it's funny
short.
though because if you watch, because like we covered in the David Arquette episode, Jeff Jarrett's all over that storyline. Like when you were watching it, and he's wearing his Slapnut T-shirt. It's still on the back has a guitar with the NWO on it. Like this is months and months later, but like they just never gave him a new T-shirt. It's like, okay, you still wear your Slapnut shirt. Your still says NWO on the back.
Right. Yeah.
I got to be honest. This NWO Silver, I did not know about this one.
Yeah. It literally was like for a cup of coffee, essentially. But I mean, it was a good cup of coffee, though. It was a gourmet cup of coffee.
When did they
Well,
get together?
I think it was 99 after Starrcade, which Starrcade we all know is that infamous injury with Goldberg hitting Bret Hart in the head and pretty much leading to the end of his career. I believe it's that time frame, I want to say.
Late December 99. Yep.
Yeah. So pretty much it's like after that, essentially. But once again, they kind of break up because Brett gets injured and like there's other injuries going on and just there's so many changes going on in the company. And we're getting into the Vince Russo era of like booking, essentially. So, I mean, that's pretty much the end for the New World Order in WCW. But don't worry, folks, because the NWO would come back and we would get into Vince McMahon. I have to put a dose of lethal injection into my creation. If anybody's going to destroy my creation, it's me and the NWO. I would turn my chair around, but it doesn't say NWO on the back of it. But anyways,
I remember losing my mind when he turned that chair
oh
around.
my gosh, I was like, no fucking way! Like the NWO is coming back? Like you're shitting me, right?
And it made total sense too because they returned it No Way Out, so NWO. Like it made total sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember at the time too. I'm sure you remember this too, Dad. At the backstage segments with like Hall and Nash and Hogan running into like
It's
Austin.
the Rock one is my favorite
Rock.
backstage segment of all time.
Yeah.
The Yo Chico Fraser Ramon, and then
Then you Hulkster, you take that and say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Yeah. Oh, good times. But yeah, they bring the NWO in essentially, and like it's the original core members. It's Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Which if you're going to
As
bring
it
them
should
back,
be.
that's how it should be. But I think what the WWE did not anticipate at the time when this happened is just how freaking over Hulk Hogan would be. And I think a lot of that has to do, of course, with WrestleMania 18 being in Toronto, because that Toronto crowd just like ate that shit up, man. It was all about the nostalgia and just like the fact that like you have, your red and yellow, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Hulk Hogan is back in the WWF essentially after, but at the time was at least almost 10 years essentially.
Yeah.
It's something you didn't think you would ever see again, but. And unfortunately, it just kind of like Hogan gets taken out of the NWO, and it's just like it's kind of a hot mess there for a couple months in the WWF.
Again, injuries happen.
Yep. I mean,
Kevin Nash quads and knees go out how many
I
times?
think that is literally the nail in the coffin for them because I mean they did try to make the NWO still relevant, even though they took
Booker
Hogan
T,
out.
Shawn
They-
Michaels. Michaels.
They had
Big
Booker T,
Show.
Big Show joined, and then HBK became the leader there for a while. Which how fucking weird is that? Shawn Michaels is the leader.
When he
of the
came out in that
NWO.
shirt, I remember being like, "This isn't gonna work."
I think I can remember.
You were in the biggest faction to counter the NWO.
And now you're in the NWO. I am confused. I'll remember too. Like I think what was the game at the time? Was it SmackDown Shut Your Mouth or something for PlayStation 2?
Mhm.
But remember you could play as Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels was wearing an NWO shirt. I was like, what the fuck? This is so weird. Like this just does not make one of these things aren't like the other, and this does not make any damn sense. But yeah, the quad, and then of course Scott Hall gets fired because of the plane ride from hell. And then Nash blowing his quad, and it's just like, okay, we're done.
It's dead in
You're
the
done.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dead in the water, and that's pretty much the end of the New World Order. But man, oh man, when we're talking tonight, the early days of the NWO, like they're 96, that run, 96, 97, it is like the best for the New World Order, man. Just like the booking was great, just all the different like feuds that came out of that, not just involving around Hogan with all the other members and stuff too. I mean, it was, as Vince McMahon would say, some good shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the reason why it's so memorable and why we talk about it still to this day, and why people even today would go, okay, if you're gonna book a mainstream New World Order now, like a modern version, who would you put in?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a nice little segue. I like it, Dadhat, because us here on Learning the Ropes, we like to play a little devil's advocate, if you will, and we do a little fantasy warfare. So this week, we're doing fantasy warfare. We got to talk about, we're going to do the NWO against the Bullet Club. Because, what I mean by this is like, let's take your core members, your top core members of the NWO against your core members throughout the history of the Bullet Club. So I guess, like, let me ask you this, Dadhat. Who would you say? I'm going to tell you this. You have 5 NWO members of all time you got to pick. Who are you going with?
Hogan, Hall, Nash, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of me wants to say 6, but because he's got roped in with the whole Hall of Fame, but I don't feel like he should be at all. Like, that was weird with the Hall of Fame with him being there.
What about Savage?
I'll give Savage.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Steiner.
Scott Steiner? Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty fair. And then let's just say on the Bullet Club side of things, let's just take let's say Finn Balor or Prince Devitt, I should say.
Can I have all leaders?
That's what I was thinking.
Kind of, yeah. You might as well.
Finn, AJ, Kenny,
Jay White, and I'm not saying David Finlay, damn it, because I still am not buying him as the current leader. And folks, we're going to be talking about this on our Saturday night edition of Learning the Ropes. Just a little sneak peek here. I'd say for the 5th Bullet Club member, give me the guy who was one of the founders. Let's say Carl Anderson.
I feel like you would have to go. I mean, do you have to go?
And all these competitors at the height of their careers too.
I mean, because if you go with the Outsiders as a tag team, and then
I think it's the Good Brothers.
The Good Brothers.
Okay, well that's fair. So let's replace Jay White with Doc Gallows. So let's just say Prince Devitt, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and the Good Brothers.
I still put money on the NWO.
I do too. I love the Bullet Club, but yeah, it's the NWO all the way. Because I mean, let's face facts. Bullet Club doesn't happen if NWO didn't happen. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're a copycat or they're a ripoff or whatever, but what's the saying? Like the NWO crawled so the Bullet Club could walk.
Yeah.
I mean, the NWO doesn't happen. Like you don't have all these other like factions like them, these takeover, if you will, type of factions, and like
Yep.
I mean, Bullet Club too is kind of really a homage, really, to the NWO.
Yeah, I mean, and really, Bullet Club makes perfect sense for where it's at.
Mhm.
Like, it's these group of they're in New Japan, and it's these group of basically, at least
Foreigners.
what foreigners, what it started with that formed a group.
There you go. So I think we're all in agreement. Probably the NWO would probably win.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to see the Good Brothers versus the Outsiders, each of them in their heyday.
That'd be pretty cool. Let me one up it. What if this match occurred in the War Games? Oh,
Still the NWO.
still the NWO, because they would find a way. They'd find a way. Ted DiBiase would come out, man, and be like,
wait, do we have that creative control, brother?
well, it is the height of Hogan, so I suppose so. But no, I think Ted DiBiase would come out and like, he's like the benefactor or whatever, and he's got like some other guys would come in and get involved or something or whatever.
Don
And like,
Callis would come turn on Kenny
Oh,
again.
yeah. And then Ted DiBiase Jr. comes in. He's like, the state of Georgia fucked on me. I'm sorry. I had to get one of those in. I had to do that once.
One time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what, B-roll? I told you at the top of this, like it didn't have you a pop quiz, but since we're doing so good on time, how about we do a little bit of a pop quiz for you, B-roll? I mean, it's been a while since we've done one.
Let's go for it. I mean, why not?
Be
I mean,
simple.
this is our swan song of Sunday night learning the ropes.
Yeah, I have one last pop
Because-
quiz.
Because next week it'll be on a Saturday, and
After
like
that, we're
losing
going
this.
Thursday.
It's making me sweat even more than I am.
like we did say, we are planning to move to Thursday nights. So yeah,
So we're gonna play a fun little game here. It's gonna be simple. I'm gonna read you a name of a pro wrestler, and you're gonna tell me if they were a member of the NWO or not.
okay, I will try my darndest.
Okay, and a lot of these names we kind of went through and talked about tonight. Okay,
We'll see if I was paying attention.
so it's time to see if you were paying attention. For the first member, Big Bubba.
Yes.
Yes, he was a member of the NWO. John Tenta. Was John Tenta a member of the NWO?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Is that your final answer?
Was he one of the more originals?
I can't.
I'm saying no, but
Well, you're wise because yes, John Tenta was not a member of the NWO.
Never.
Never. That would have been weird though. I could have seen it though, being him buddies with Hogan though.
Yeah.
But okay. Next one I got for you, B-roll. Booker T. Was Booker T a member of the NWO?
yeah, you all said he was a member of it during when they were trying to bring it back.
You are correct, sir. You're doing 3 for 3. You're good.
Now,
man.
I will say, honestly, until tonight, though, I did not know that. I mean, which is what this show is all
Yes.
about.
Means you've been paying attention though. We're teaching
And
you.
he gets super kicked out.
Okay. I mentioned Booker T. What about his brother, Stevie Ray? Was Stevie Ray a part of the NWO?
I'm gonna say I don't think so, and I could be wrong.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
B-roll. You are incorrect. Stevie Ray was a member of the NWO.
Should have known.
That's what when you went on your P-bake, Ray. I think it's when Dadhat was confessing his love for NWO Hollywood to Stevie Ray.
It was.
Mm.
Although I will say the gear they made for him, it literally looked like somebody just like went to like Walmart, got felt letters NWO, and just ironed them on.
I mean,
That's true.
This is the NWO we're talking about. So if you're not sure, you should probably always say yes.
Oh, that's true.
They do
Okay,
have so many members.
I got another one for you. How about Alex Wright? Was Alex Wright a part of the NWO?
Das Wonder Kid.
Das Wunderkid.
I see. I don't even know. I know who that is.
He's the guy that comes out and like does like the. He came out with Disco Inferno a lot. Leather jacket.
Hmm. See, I'm tempted to say no,
We have
but
to show him some Alex Wright matches, man. Alex Wright was a great performer.
He was great. Just horrible with Disco Inferno.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. But with it being NWO, it's probably yes. But I'm saying no.
It's okay because you're correct. Alex Wright was not a member of the NWO. But hey, we
I got one
mentioned
for him.
his longtime partner, Disco Inferno. Was Disco Inferno a member of the NWO? Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to get that one in. I'll let you do the next one, Dadhat.
Was Disco Inferno.
Disco fever, disco fever. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Was this a WCW thing?
He was a WCW wrestler. Oh,
You don't
yeah.
know Disco Inferno? Oh my gosh.
Oh dear God.
Oh, I'm writing down so many things that you have to react to.
Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart. Sorry, I don't want to get copyrighted.
Yes.
You know what? You're correct. Disco Inferno was a member of the NWO, believe it
He was
or
like a
not.
mascot.
Yes. The equivalent of Hornswoggle being in DX, that's Disco Inferno in the NWO, essentially.
I listened, like you said, I listened to my heart.
All right, Dadhat, you have one?
Yep. Medusa.
Ooh.
Made in the USA.
She doesn't like Trish Stratus right now.
No, she doesn't.
I don't know.
Well, remember, you could always Wikipedia that.
But that would be cheating.
That would be cheating, though.
Don't be like some of my ex-girlfriends.
I will say yes because I feel like you're trying to stump me.
She was not, but she would have fit in perfectly.
Oh, she would have been great.
I mean, she did throw a title in the trash can. So
she was perfect in the Dangerous Alliance. She was great with the '99 return of Macho Man Randy Savage with Gorgeous George and Miss Madness, aka Molly Holly, and Medusa. Like, I love her. What up, MJ?
Hey, how's it going, MJ? Yes, that is a nice belt he does have there. Okay. I got one for you. Was Glacier a part of the NWO? Glacier.
I've heard about Glacier. Why have I heard about Glacier?
See, Dadhat,
If you watched
stuff
our
you gotta
Canyon
show.
episode,
Yes.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Glacier was not a part of the NWO.
Oh man, see, we should stop.
It would have been interesting though if Glacier was with the NWO. I don't think it would have worked, but I mean, it would have been like, okay. That was like a completely when he was there, it was such a unique time because I mean, you know, the NWO is all reality based, and then like Glacier was really like kind of the last true like cartoony gimmick they brought in when you think about
him and Canyon as Mortis. Yep.
Oh man, great rivalry. They bring Wrath in. Good times.
Wrath.
Good times. Okay, B-roll, I got another one for you. Ming. was
Ming.
Ming, a member of the NWO, aka Haku, aka the baddest man on the face of God's green earth, essentially. The master of the Tongan death grip.
No.
You are correct. Ming was not a part of the NWO.
Yay.
All right, last one for you, B-roll.
Oh, I got a good one too.
Oh, you got one? You finish it out, buddy.
Jerry Sags and Brian Knobs, the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boy. You know what I remember about the Nasty Boys? I remember when we went to that flea market that one time, Days of Old, and we did that hunt there, and we bought some WCW trading cards.
Wait, I have one extra one after this one.
Okay, a bonus. I remember buying the trading cards, but I don't remember the Nasty Boys being in part of it.
Yeah, we got cards of like the Nasty Boys.
Boys. You're
Or I think of something else.
You're thinking of the Southern Boys.
Oh.
Because the Nasty Boy, you're talking about the trading cards from 91. Now, they would have trading cards in like 94, 95 that the Nasty Boys were part of. But I think what you're thinking of is the Southern Boys. But it's okay.
It's okay. Names were like actual names were
The Nasty Boys, Jerry Sags, and Brian Knobs.
Brian Knobs.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay, fair enough. All right, you said you had a bonus. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You are correct, by the way. The Nasty
No,
Boys
they
were
were.
not a part.
They were. Cup of coffee.
Wait a minute. The Nasty
Cup of
Boys
coffee.
were?
Yep, please hold.
I don't even remember that myself. You're
Yeah,
shitting me.
yeah. Hold on.
Well,
Super cup of coffee.
I
Cup of
thought
coffee.
it was like, okay, I think I know the time frame you're talking about because they ended up having like that triangle match at World War III in 96. Huh. I'll be a son of a bitch.
Okay, so this is a
I don't
tricky
feel
one
bad.
there.
I don't feel
B-roll.
bad now.
I see. I thought it though. It wasn't like it was just implied, but they didn't really like join.
They're still counted on the official Wikipedia. So,
Well, if it's on Wikipedia, then it's got to be right. So I'll be.
all right, this is a hard one. B-roll. This is a tricky one. Kyle Petty.
Oh Jesus.
Kyle Petty. Isn't that like a country singer?
No.
Close. A NASCAR driver. But if there's one thing Kurt Hennings told me, it's like Richard Petty's still the king.
Okay. See, I've struggled with Dadhats because he's been out to get me.
Hell, he got me even. I didn't realize that about the Nasty Boys. I thought that was just like a. I don't even remember them with the shirts on. That's crazy.
So here's what
Super
I'm going
brief.
to do. What I'm going to do. I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to say yes because it's more likely that they were a member of NWO than not. So I will say yes, but that is a pure blind guess.
Oh my
NWO
God. He
NASCAR.
even drove the damn NWO car. Of course he did. That's hilarious. Wow.
Oh, man.
I see it. I see it.
Amazing.
Yes, he did.
Well, you did pretty good, B-roll. I mean, you did really good because I mean, there's been so many damn members of the NWO. But in closing here tonight, I got to ask you guys: ultimately, what is the legacy of the NWO?
Realism in wrestling.
I think so. I mean, they were the first real mega faction to dominate and get over, and like there hasn't really been a faction like theirs that just was like the predominant storyline for like a multitude of years.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You still haven't seen that, and you probably won't ever see that. But I mean,
would
you could
say-
say maybe Bloodline, but that's different. I mean, that's
Yeah.
completely different, in my opinion.
I would say in a lot of ways it's kind of like bad guys can be cool.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it too, because they were first really like the real kind of heel group where, well, that's not true. The Horseman was, but I mean, still they were right up there where it's like you liked the bad guys. You know, you cheered for the bad guys, a certain sector of the crowd, because you were either with WCW or the NWO. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, ultimately, they are going to go down as like one of the greatest factions of all time, whether you love them or hate them. Yeah, there's some of the stuff that was, very kind of iffy when they initially, like, or at least towards the end of the NWO's life. But the beginning though, the
Yeah.
beginning's like 96, 97. That's like their best run, and it was so freaking good, man. So. Well, we've come down to the end here, and we've talked the NWO all night tonight. It's been fun, but before we close out, we got to end it the only way we know how, B-roll. Gotta get that last plug-a-palooza in, and since our friend Dadhat is here, he has got a lot going on. So, Dadhat, we're gonna give you the floor.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for letting me come on. I want to know when you first started doing learning the ropes. I remember messaging you, me like, "You ever get to NWO? You just let me know." And now here we are doing it. So it's been fun. Sorry for being late. But there's a lot going on. Of course, you can find me at Dad Hat Wrestling on pretty much everything: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I have a YouTube that's Dad Hat Wrestling, but I don't do anything on it. But you can find me, the Will Gray, Husky Rhodes, these two wonderful gentlemen above me, Jay Knows Wrestling, and some more people coming soon over on YouTube at World Championship Wreckage. Lots of stuff coming down the line. Of course, we have the flagship show, World Championship Wreckage. Our next episode, I have to go tally the votes tomorrow. But our next episode is either going to cover the U.S. title history in WCW or Big Van Vader, which I know both of them are very excited about. Someone please clip that. Oh, it froze. It froze perfectly, and then it changed. It went away. So that's coming up. But we've got Back in the Day with XLJ, where he goes through feuds and merchandise and WCW magazines and everything looking back at the NWA and WCW. You've got PWN Reacts, Pro Wrestling Newbie Reacts with Mr.Broll, where he's taking a look at WCW and the NWA for the first time on a lot of things. And he gives his reactions as seeing stuff that a lot of us have saw when we were kids, and he's seen it as an adult. And other shows like Icon and one coming down the line. I won't go into too much information, but we've got one called Title Run coming soon with my buddy. You all know him. You all love him. The Ginger Ninja Jaxpo.
Nice. That'll be
But a
awesome.
lot going on. But you can find it's World Championship Wreckage on YouTube. It's WC Wreckage Pod on Twitter. And I think it's WC Wreckage Podcast on Instagram. TikTok.
There you go, man. You got a lot going on, and we're B-roll.
Oh, and the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack.
Don't
And the
forget Wrestle Talk Wolfpack every Wednesday, 9 to 11
Wednesday.
on Twitch.
Twitch.tv/ Wrestle Talk Wolfpack.
Yeah. Indeed, man. You're a pretty busy man, but we are so honored and privileged to be a part of World Championship Wreckage, to be on this journey with you. It's a pretty awesome channel. Like, if you like the stuff we've talked about tonight, there is no reason you should not be going over and subscribing to World Championship Wreckage.
Indeed.
And real quick, as I mentioned earlier tonight, we got a big week coming up on Cole TV. It is our Memorial Day weekend extravaganza is upon us. But before we get there, though, we do have a brand new episode of PW60 coming to you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But Memorial Day week extravaganza, it kicks off on Thursday with our Night of Champions prediction show. And then Friday, we have got a brand new show or brand new episode of Friday Night Movie Night. It may very well be the best Friday Night Movie Night we've ever done. There's a lot of hilarity that ensues. If I'm pulling back the curtain because it's a Memorial Day weekend theme, we are watching Invasion USA, the movie with Chuck Norris, and it's pretty hilarious. We also got a very special guest joining us too. MJ is going to join us for this episode, and it's freaking hilarious, man. It is. You guys are gonna have to check it out, and we're hoping to get a couple sponsorships from it. And I'll just leave it at that.
Probably one sponsorship and one cease and desist.
Yeah. But it's an awesome episode, man. And then Saturday, like we said, we've got our Learning the Ropes special. We're going to be on Saturday night. And it's going to be, we're finishing up Faction Month here. We're talking the Bullet Club next week. And we got some very special guests for that too. Should we go ahead and reveal who our guests are for that?
Yeah,
Spill
go
the
ahead.
tea.
Go for it. So we have got our very own from Pro Wrestling 60. You know her, you love her. She always does our Bullet Club reports. Sienna Chanel is going to be joining us, as well as you know him, you love him. He is Mr. New Japan. He covers everything New Japan on the Tiki Talks, talking about wrestling with Colin. Is going to be joining us on that episode. So it's going to be a supersized episode where we talk about Bullet Club. You can catch that this Saturday. And Sunday, you can catch our Double or Nothing prediction show. And next Monday, a week from tomorrow, on Memorial Day night, will be a very special live version of Pro Wrestling 60. So much content coming to you over on here on Cole TV. Got a little something for everybody, a lot of wrestling. We got like a huge wrestling weekend coming up this Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be nuts,
Yeah.
B-roll.
Yeah, we'll have plenty to cover for sure. 4 pay-per-views coming up. But we thank you for joining us here tonight for Learning the Ropes. A special thank you to our guest, Dadhat, who has become not only just acquaintance or co-worker, however you want to classify it.
A brother.
A really good friend to us, and cherish our friendship. So thank you for hopping on with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
For life.
For life. But yeah,
I
think there's only one way to close it out, y'all. Too sweet me.
Too sweet. All right, folks. Remember, we'll be back Saturday night for a brand new episode of Learning the Ropes. So everybody have a wonderful weekend. A week, I should say, and we'll see you tomorrow night here on Cole TV for a brand new episode of Pro Wrestling 60. See you tomorrow night. Sweet.